Hi, my name is Rod Khleif, and I'm the host of the Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing podcast. And every week I interview multifamily rock stars, and we talk about how they've built incredible wealth for themselves and their families through multifamily properties. So hit the like and subscribe buttons to get notified every Monday when a new episode comes out. Let's get to it. Welcome to another edition of How to Build Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. I'm Rod Khleif, and I'm thrilled you're here. And we've got kind of an unusual guest today, and you'll understand why when we get into it. His name's TJ Tijani, and TJ's been in the fix and flip game for a while, wholesaling for a while, but now he does short-term rentals. And we're gonna drill into that because he actually has multifamily units that he does this on. I've got students doing it as well. And when I met TJ on Clubhouse, I thought, you know what, it'd be a great conversation to have on this platform. So let's have some fun today. TJ, welcome, brother.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you bringing me on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So why don't you go back and give us a little history on yourself, and then bring us up to the point where when you first started taking a look at short-term rentals, and then we'll drill down on the mechanics of it.
Yes, sir. So it's interesting. Originally I was born in Nigeria. I came here when I was 8 years old. I ended up going to college here at Houston. I went to University of Houston, which was an interesting time. It was a trying time though, because having to work my way through school was always a challenge. But I honestly wouldn't have it in any other way. Studying engineering, I graduated with an engineering degree and a mathematics minor, and I started working for an oil and gas company. But while I was in college, because I was trying to figure out more ways to make money to pay for school, right? So I had to figure out ways. So I was still had entrepreneurship side hustles, right? Where I worked at a shoe store. So I would take old merches and things that went on clearance, and I would add my employee discount that I would come resell them to the dorm rooms on campus. And so when I graduated and I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, of course, as a lot of people's kind of first step into this entrepreneurship world. And so I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I decided I wanted to own assets. I said, you know what? I want to get into the game of real estate. I want to own assets. And so I started educating myself on how to do it. I was definitely a member of YouTube University. So then I joined a local group that was focused on real estate investing, specifically on buy and holds. A lot of folks, I know that's a little bit backwards. Most people get into the game and do wholesaling or fixing and flipping. But I joined a local group. I wanted to own assets. So I joined a group that was focused on owning assets. And so that's what I did. And so then I actually, I ended up buying a course on wholesaling. When I started learning about wholesaling, I was like, oh, wow, I was kind of already doing this back in college, just with a different type of product. And so then I really sunk my teeth into wholesaling. My very first deal made me $7,000. And it was one of those deals, my very first mailer that was sent out. And so I did all this while I was working in oil and gas. But the thing about working in oil and gas, in the world that I lived in, I was working in a field that required me to be gone quite a bit. So I was a subsea installation engineer. I was working offshore. I was working out in the rigs as an installations engineer. And so I really took advantage of my time when I was in Houston. And so, but then for folks who don't really know, or mostly everybody knows, the oil and gas market is very finicky. So when the market dropped, I was kind of put in a position to where once my project with ExxonMobil was done, because I was on the ExxonMobil portfolio, and once my project with them was done, then they pretty much didn't have anything for me to do. So I was forced to take a severance package. At the time, my goal was to get to 10 rental properties. That was my goal. I wanted 10 rental properties before I walked away from my full-time job, because I didn't hate it, honestly. I didn't necessarily hate it, but I just knew it wasn't for me. It wasn't what I wanted to do in the long term. So, but by the time I had to take that severance, I was at 5 rental properties. And so, but it was okay. I decided to bet on myself. I wasn't necessarily looking to get into the short-term rental space. I had a few projects that I was remodeling. Some I was going to keep, some I was going to sell. When in my market research and trying to figure out more lead generation strategies, I came across a video about short-term rentals. I said, well, I'm a little bit familiar. I've heard of AirBNB. I've heard of things like that. I haven't stayed in one yet before at the time. And so then I looked into it, and I decided to try this Airbnb thing on one of my assets. And so I furnished this property. I've remodeled it, did a full gut remodel, used private money to fund it, and furnished this property. Then I listed it. The very next day, I had 2 bookings come in. Then I did the math. I said, wow, okay, these 2 bookings came in. Even at 50% occupancy with these numbers, I would make twice as much as I would as a traditional rental. And it was like the light bulb moment for me. And that's what kind of went off in my head. And I said, you know what, I want to sink my teeth into the strategy. And now we're almost at 30 units later.
So
all
you're
here
at
in
30
Houston.
units doing Airbnb now.
All
And I know
Airbnb.
you're also doing rental arbitrage where you don't actually own the units. You just lease them from the landlord. And
Absolutely.
then, and we're going to drill down on that some more here in a minute. But so that first property, what was attractive about that property that caused you to get two bookings so quickly? Was it strategically located? Just talk about location first, if you would.
Absolutely. So one of the things in terms of determining what kind of property you're going to have and how your property will perform, the location definitely matters. This is definitely what I like to consider a proximity-based business. Proximity definitely matters because you have to understand who you're serving. Why would somebody want to come into that particular area? What's a fact is that people, when they travel, they need somewhere to stay. They need somewhere to sleep. And so they know where to go to get set accommodations, but what is actually attracting those people to that particular unit? So the question that we always have to answer in this business is, who are we serving? Who is actually that target demographic, right? So for this particular property, it actually is in a very transitional neighborhood. And I was super nervous to do it. I was really scared to do it because the neighborhood isn't quite as caught up, right? Phenomenal area, a lot of opportunity in terms of growth in that area, a huge upside in terms of appreciation in that area. But when I looked at the proximity, it was 10 minutes to downtown Houston. It was 10 minutes to the medical center in Houston, which here in Houston, we have one of the biggest medical centers in the nation. 10 minutes to the Midtown area. So it was perfectly located, even though that neighborhood wasn't quite caught up proximity wise, it was still a great look. And so when you couple that with a very nice unit that's homely, that's nice, the property was just got done being remodeled. When you consider all that, yeah, it was kind of a no-brainer, and people were booking it left or right. And that was my very first unit. So my very first unit was one that I owned, and I like to consider these landlord-owned properties. I like to consider myself a landlord host and a rental arbitrage host. So that property particularly goes under the landlord column for sure.
Okay, gotcha. So when people let's stick with locations for just a moment. So when people are looking for a location, let's say they own a multifamily property, or they're looking at multifamily properties, because obviously that's my listener base. You want to look at the demographic you might serve. Obviously, medical is really big. I know you talked about that with the rental arbitrage before we started recording. If you're near a hospital, that's huge because they have people coming in all the time, residency, things of that nature. And so what other types of industry might you look for? I mean, near a downtown sounds like it's important. Yep. Do you have anything? Are you all in Houston?
Completely I'm all in Houston.
Okay.
All in Houston right now.
And because I know that there are people that do it, like I live in Florida here, and there are people that do it along the coastline, where obviously it's a resort type thing, where it's a vacation rental. Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, and those are still, because there's different type of, I guess, kind of properties that you can do, right? You can be in that kind of vacation areas, those more beachy areas and things like that, which those do very well. Now, for folks who do that, there's a huge upside because those properties you could tend to charge a lot more per night just because of the value that those properties bring. But then there's a lot more seasonal, right? That's the kind of downside of that. There's a lot more slower months than higher months, just in terms of seasonality. But the higher months are so good that they absorb kind of the downside.
Right.
But then when you're in the city like Houston, you have more avatars.
Longer term.
Exactly. Yeah. Longer term, you have more avatars to work with. For me here, we work with business travelers, medical travelers. Our guest avatar also include weekend travelers. We have families. We're huge on families. This is why knowing who you serve matters, because that way it also answers the question of how to even set up your units. Because a lot of times you want to make sure that you set up your units to where it's optimal for the people that you serve. Like if you serve in families, it's a great idea to add a pack and play in there, because think about it, when people travel, they don't want to travel.
To add a what? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
A pack and play.
What is a pack?
Yeah, it's like a pack and play is it's like for a kid, like for an infant. It's like a small bed, but it's foldable. It's packable.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Okay, so it's like a crib almost.
Like a crib, yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. Okay,
it's like a crib.
All right.
It's like a crib for like an infant though, like an infant or a toddler.
Yeah, got it. Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So those are crucial, right? A lot of times people will book your units just because you have that, because they say, okay, wow, this unit is amazing, it's beautiful, and we don't have to we don't have to travel with that, right? Having things like a high chair, you serve families, have board games, things like that. So knowing that guest avatar actually answers a lot of questions, and also will answer questions on how you should even set up your units.
Sure.
So
by virtue of answering those questions, you're really seeing. You're not only determining who the avatar is, but you're also, positioning yourself to attract that person. But by virtue of answering that question, who's your avatar? It helps you not just with determining where you're going to, either rental arbitrage or buy a unit or units, and how you're going to position it. Got it. Okay. So we talk about location. What platforms do you market? I know you've got your own site now. We're going to talk about that. But as for someone starting out, what platforms do you utilize? I know there's Airbnb. What else is there?
So there's multiple platforms, and people don't realize that there's a lot of platforms out there. What's important when you're on multiple platforms is to make sure that everything is succinct. Well, for one, to answer your question more directly, Airbnb is the one that I like to consider Airbnb like the short-term rental on training wheels, right? That's literally the most turnkey platform that's out there. Okay. And it's one of the most widely known. So definitely start with Airbnb, 100% start with Airbnb. And a lot of times there are a lot of people who really only use Airbnb because it literally still brings them enough traffic. It brings them enough bookings. But there's booking.com. There's VRBO, which now VRBO is owned by Expedia. But Expedia, you have to have at least 20 units to get on Expedia. So there's Expedia, there's VRBO. HomeAway was a previous one, but now HomeAway and VRBO are one because VRBO bought HomeAway. So then there's other sites. There's things like that are smoke friendly, like budandbreakfast.com. There are sites, a newer one that's more so focused on business travelers, Copa. These are Copa. That's a site that mainly focuses on monthly rentals. So they target businesses, and they actually have partnerships with different businesses in different markets. So that's another good site to know. What's important when you're on multiple various sites is to make sure that you have calendar management, though, because that's crucial. If somebody books it, on booking.com.
You get two people on two different sites, they book at the same time. You've got a problem. Okay.
You got a problem.
Wow.
So that succinctness is crucial, right? And there are multiple.
How do you do that? I mean, if you're on two completely different platforms, and somebody books on one of them, I mean, you almost have to instantaneously change it on the others. Yes.
Well, yes, absolutely. You have to. But one of the beautiful things about this business, and one of the reasons why when I started learning about this business and I knew that I wanted to get into this business, because I realized that as many moving parts as there is to this business, you can literally systematize and automate it with field teams, with technology. And technology is definitely your best friend when it comes to what we're talking about right here. Okay. There are multiple platforms that you can use that are channel management platforms that can bring all your calendars succinctly into one platform.
Oh, okay. So there's software that'll cover this.
Software that'll cover this for you.
Okay.
Somebody books it on booking.com, it'll automatically block it on all the other platforms, including your direct booking site. Right.
What's the name of one of these platforms that does this?
There's a few. So there's Guesty, right? Guesty, ESTY. There's Logify. There is Tokeet. There's Hostaway, I should say. Hostaway. There's Your Porter. That's just a few of them. Orbi Rental.
Okay, great. So that's how you would organize the calendars. Exactly. Yeah, I was like, holy shit, that would be a problem.
Yeah. Okay. It's very important though that. Yeah, go ahead.
No, please finish.
I was going to say, it's very important that all these platforms that we're talking about, like especially the ones I just kind of named off, they all have their own personalities. They all have different things that they provide versus others. So what I encourage people to do is to just do your research. Look into all of them. Most of them will have a trial period, or they can do a demo for you. They're willing to send you one. They're willing to go live with you to run through it, to do a demo. So just do your research. Understand that each have their own personalities, and then go with one and just.
And do they take different percentages? I'm assuming they get paid by booking, so you're not paying a fee to get on them, I would guess. But
some get paid by booking, but most of them actually just get paid a flat fee depending on how many units are actually listed. So depending, some might say, hey, $6 per listing that you have on a platform, right? Gotcha. So that's a kind of round.
Is that $6 per month or
per month? Yes.
Okay, so you do pay a flat fee. Interesting. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So now let's talk about how you take care of servicing them, how you take care of washing the sheets and the maid service and all that business. How do you so let's start with servicing, and then I want to talk about pitfalls. So I was just thinking about something there as I was thinking about, like, I was just thinking spring break and getting unit destroyed. But let's talk about how you service the units first.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where your team comes in very, very crucial, right? Okay. So you need a field team, the most important team member that you're going to have. And I think probably every short-term rental investor would probably agree that your cleaning team is the most important team member that you're going to have. Your cleaning team literally is going to be the backbone of your business. They're the ones who are going to handle the turnover process. They're turning over your units. So you need to have a system to where not only are you having a solid cleaning team turning over these units, but you need to have a system to where you are managing the entire process. When my cleaning team goes in, I get a notification on my phone, boom, cleaning has started. When the cleaning is done, I get a notification that hey, the cleaning is done. In the process, they have checklists. So we see that everything is checked off that they need to be doing. We also make sure that they send pictures and photos to confirm that everything is where it needs to be, that everything looks good, everything looks clean. And you can automate that entire process. And there's softwares and technology that we use to manage the cleanings, the cleaning process as well. So that turnover process is very crucial.
Give me an example of that software. Is it off the shelf software that you can use?
Yeah. So there's a turnover BNB. There's one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's Properly is another one. Okay. Those are probably the top two. All right.
And they have checklists in them so that nothing gets missed. Now, let me ask you a question. So they'll go in and clean, they'll wash the sheets, remake the bed, all that. What about, I know that, again, I don't do Airbnb personally. I just like hotels, but the point is, don't they, like, some people put water in them, they'll put some food in them, they'll put some other cool stuff. Do you do any of that? I mean, talk about that a little bit. I mean, I think we talked about, were we recording when we talked about the babies demographics? Was that after we started recording?
Yep.
Family. Yeah, we did. Okay, good. So you'll put a high chair and the portable crib and stuff, but are there any other things you put in there? Talk about that. And then does that cleaning crew handle that? Those are my two questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's definitely going to depend on who you're serving, right? Like for me, for example, I serve a lot of folks in the medical center area. So okay. I always put like a big flat screen TV in every single room. Do you need to do that? No, but I do it. Why? Because of the people that I serve. A lot of times when people come, whether they're travel nurses or whether they're patients, and they get some type of procedure done, a lot of times when they book these Airbnbs, they are recovering at your units. So their mobility is usually quite limited, right? So when they're recovering at your units, you want to make sure that, for one, we do a king bed in our units. We have at least one king bed in every single unit. Comfortable mattresses. See, when it comes to furnishing these units and setting these units up, it's okay to be savvy. Like you can cut costs, but don't cut quality, especially on certain things, like your beds, your pillows, your pot set. Because when you think about what really differentiates that experience with an Airbnb versus a hotel, it's like a full kitchen, right? Which is one of the biggest things that people use in an Airbnb. So make sure that pot and pan set is quality. And like going back to the beds, we make sure we get a quality bed. You don't have to break the bank. There's actually a bed on Amazon that is literally has 5 stars with thousands of reviews. The Zenith green tea mattress on Amazon. It's a phenomenal mattress. A lot of hosts use it. It's not that expensive.
How much?
I think a king is about $400. A queen is maybe like $250 or something like that.
That's cheap. Okay, good. Bad. Okay.
Yeah, nothing bad.
Okay.
So we want to make sure that, like, for those folks that we serve, like, for example, like when people come recover at our units, their mobility is limited, right? Mm-hmm. So having a nice TV with all the apps, right? We provide Netflix and cable in our units as well.
Perfect.
And so but it's a smart TV. They can log into the HBO subscription. They can log into whatever subscription
Disney,
that they have.
Whatever, right?
Exactly, okay. And they can be entertained while they're recovering, right? And we do a king bed, make sure the bed is comfortable. A lot of times when patients come in, they have a support system, a family member, or somebody that's probably want to lay with them and make sure that they're good overnight. So thinking about folks like that, putting yourself in their shoes and providing that experience will go so long.
So what about some things like, do you do any perishables, like I was talking about, like water for them when they come, or any like gift basket or any kind of stuff that makes them think, oh man, these people really care about us? Do you do any of that stuff?
So we do snacks. We used to do wines.
Okay.
We used to do a lot of wines. We'll put a bottle of wine out with a nice note card.
Right.
When I got to probably about 8 units, I realized that for me, now this could be very different, and everybody runs a short-term rental businesses differently. And this is for me, it just wasn't scalable for me. It just wasn't scalable for me. So it just became a little bit too cumbersome.
Got it. Yeah, just I mean, you got to stock all that wine, and then then the maids are opening them and enjoying their time cleaning your units and everything else. I got you. No, so you really don't do any perishable stuff, because I'd heard people put a gift basket with a couple bottles of water and some snacks.
Yeah. So what we do we do like the little snacks and waters. We do like the little snacks and waters, but that's as far as it goes for us.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah, that's as far as it goes for us. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Okay. So now let's talk about pitfalls. What are some horror stories? So talk about some, because I'm sure you got a few if you've got that many units.
Oh, man.
So talk about some doozies that have happened and really the lessons learned and or how you got through them. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'll give you, there's definitely a few. For one, I've had, because we don't allow pets in our units. Now, pets can actually, to each his own on that, right? There's actually great arguments to be made with having pets and not having pets. But there are a lot more people that don't allow pets. So if you actually allow pets in your listings, that's a great way to stand out, honestly. But for me personally, we don't allow pets in our units. One time somebody snuck a German Shepherd into our units. And somebody snuck a German Shepherd in there and they checked out. By the time they checked out, the next guest checked in 2 days later and they were like, man, there's stuff everywhere. It's biting us. And they let fleas.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, so we had to get that's horrible for your reputation. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So we had to get the whole place treated, had to move the guest out of there, had to get the whole place treated, things like that. We've had somebody, we had a raid, like an FBI raid at one of my units before, because we had one of the guests and this is a direct booking. This is my earlier days where my screening process wasn't as strenuous as it is now.
Okay.
But somebody booked it, but it wasn't that guest actually. It was actually somebody else that came into the property, one of their friends that came into the property. What happened was that the FBI sent a package, a FedEx package to the front door. And when they came and rang the doorbell, when they came to open the door, they wanted to confirm to see who was inside the house first before they made their move. And when they saw that person that they wanted to get was there, and they came in, they actually kicked in my front door.
Wow.
It. And then and I heard about it the next day. I'm like, what the heck? But then the thing is that, and I was out of town at the time. And so then I looked at the camera and I was like, what in the world? So
you've got cameras in the front doors of your units?
Very important to have cameras on the only in the exterior.
Of course, only in the exterior.
Only exterior. Yeah, right. And for folks who are listening, if you're going to have a camera, actually, matter of fact, you're well within your rights to have a camera inside if you want to. You just have to make sure that you state it. If you don't state it.
Guys, don't do that. Trust me, just don't do that.
Don't do that. I wouldn't recommend it whatsoever.
So do you do just one camera in the front, or do you do one in the back, or what do
one
you
in the back, one in the front, one in the back? Now it depends. A lot of our arbitrage properties, it's like they're in apartment communities, or we have a lot of landlord properties as well. So if it's a standalone property, we have cameras covering both the front and the back. For sure. Okay. And it's very important to have cameras. You want to make sure, for one, that you are tracking, that you are making sure that you are seeing the people that are coming into your units. Because a lot of times people will be slick. They'll say, oh, it's 2 people checking in, and it's like 10 people that checked in.
No kidding.
That way, you need to have it stated in your house rules, how that language in your house rules to make sure that you will collect money and state how it's a violation if they violate the number of people that's supposed
now, these house rules, are they just stated on the website, or do you actually have a sheet inside on the countertop that has them as well?
So what we do is we utilize technology, which is definitely stated on the website, but 3 days prior to every guest that checks into our properties, they get a digital guidebook. And also highlights the house rules there. And matter of fact, when everybody books, no matter what platform, when they book, they have to agree to the house rules before even confirming the reservation.
So they check a little checkbox. Yeah, we agree to the rules. Gotcha. Okay.
Exactly.
Now you talked about screening. I don't want to pass that by. I didn't even think about that. What do you do to screen a short-term rental?
Well, there's a few things you can do. And again, another thing, people have different ways so that they
sure. But I want to hear your way, right? Or what you've heard, from other people as well.
Absolutely. So for one, we look at the reservation. We look to see if they actually have any positive reviews. One of the best things you can do for screening, by the way, is to make sure that for especially for our bigger units, we don't have it to where you can instantly book it. And I want people to understand that instantly book, especially on Airbnb likes instantly bookable listings, but don't be scared to turn that off. Like protect your property still at the same time.
Right.
So especially for bigger properties that sleep more, because those are the bigger targets for the riffraff.
Right.
And that there's a lot.
Let's have a party, bring 100 people over. Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
So for people that want to book those listings, understand you have to send in a request, and we look at your profile. We say, okay, how many do they have positive reviews from other hosts? Had they provided a good service to somebody else before? Then we look at how many times they've done that. We look to see if they're local. A lot of times, and traveling metrics and traveling has changed ever since COVID. So there's a lot more local people traveling that are amazing guests. But pre-COVID, we were super, super, super strict against local travels, and we still are. But we just
because of that whole party dynamic.
Because of the whole party dynamic.
Gotcha.
To me, my mindset is, okay, you live in the city. Why would you want to book my listing, my big house? If you don't want to party in your house, you could. So we're very, very wary on local travel. So we look at that.
So that's a good point. So you're all you can do is really look at their history. And if they don't have one and it's a big property, you might be, no, not happening, especially if it's short term, right?
Exactly. And depending on how many days, right?
Right.
How many days they book it for one night, that's a red flag, right?
You bet.
But if they want to book it for 5 nights, okay, let's see why.
Yeah. Chances are they won't last that long with the alcohol. So that's probably not.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
All right. Gotcha. Okay. So that's the screening. That makes good sense. Oh gosh. And I just had another thought and it escaped me. Okay. Bear with me 1 second. Pitfalls, screening. Darn it. It escaped me. It was a good one too. Yeah, it'll come to me. All right. So let's talk about now. Have you encountered, well, I know Houston is loosey-goosey. They don't even have zoning there, I don't think. So have you encountered legislation that is adversarial to this short-term rental business in your business so far?
So I haven't personally encountered it, but people encounter it all the time. Here in Houston, we're very matter of fact, the city makes money on on a platform on Airbnb.
Okay.
There's a transient occupancy taxes, the hotel tax that's collected. The guest pays that, so that's a portion of that tax goes to the city, and the city's happy. Well, the thing is that when it comes to these regulations, there are different reasons why different cities will have different regulations. Like in New Orleans was people making money hand over fist on Airbnb in New Orleans.
Right.
But what happened was that a lot of people from out of town were coming in and buying all these properties and building new properties strictly for the purposes of Airbnb. And New Orleans started feeling like they were losing the culture of the city. So city council, people started complaining. City council got involved. Everybody got involved, and now you have to own the property and live in it to make the property a short-term rental.
But you have to live in it too. Wow.
So
okay.
That's why
New Orleans is off the table. Okay.
Yeah. So if it's an investment property that you don't live in, right now it's a no-go. So you have to. That's why properties like multifamily duplexes and triplexes
So I met a guy. So I was a member of a mastermind. That's the reason I asked this. Is I met a guy that does Airbnb, really, really sharp guy, and what he told me. And I don't know how you feel about this. I'd like to get your opinion on this was, when he does one, he always makes sure he has multiple exit strategies. It just in case the legislation changes. Like, I don't want to pay so much for a property that I can't sell it regularly if I had to, or rent it annually if I had to. What are your thoughts on that, buddy?
Listen, that guy is a very smart guy. Yeah. This is stuff that's very important. And I say this all the time, especially when I'm speaking on Clubhouse with people that tell me, I want to buy this property. I want to listen. You have to have multiple exit strategies.
Okay.
The property and the numbers have to make sense from a traditional rental perspective. If that property will not cash flow with a long-term traditional tenant in it, then I like to look at the short-term rental income as the icing on the cake. Right. Now it's a huge icing, icing on the cake, but that should be looked at as like the extra. That property should be able to cash flow with the long-term traditional tenant in it, because you never know what might happen. Even if legislation comes down in the city and you might have to pivot and make that adjustment, you'll be fine. Now, even if things are great in the city, if HOA or deed restrictions in that particular area, even that neighborhood comes down and puts a dampen on your business strategy, it's a good idea to have an exit strategy. So a lot of people, when they look to buy their short-term rentals, I'm like, look, make sure the numbers make sense on the front end. Like, you got to, because we both know it don't matter what exit strategy you do, you're making money when you buy when it comes to real estate. So
Right,
That's why
right,
you
right.
have to have
So
multiple.
now let's talk about the rental arbitrage, where you're actually going to a landlord and saying, "Hey, would you allow me to do short-term rental here?" And so talk about that conversation that
Yeah.
you would be having, and I know you do them inside of other people's apartment complexes as well. Is that correct, or no?
Yeah. So we work with apartment complexes and landlords.
Oh, right, right, right. So talk about that conversation. How do you because I mean, obviously the first thing I would think is, oh Christ, they're going to tear my place up.
Yep.
No way, I'm not doing that. How do you get past all that fear?
So for one, your approach with landlords is from a factor of, first of all, putting yourself in their shoes and understanding their pain points. When we talk to landlords, we want to, for one, we don't talk to them about, oh, we want to do Airbnb and whatnot. And I'm gonna say this small caveat real quick. Airbnb is just a platform. It's not the business you're in.
Right,
Okay?
right.
You're a rental business, you're a corporate housing company, however you want to position yourself, but you're not in the Airbnb business, just a platform. Okay. So when we go talk to landlords, what tends to happen is when we call them up, say, hey, we saw your property on Zillow or Hot Pads, wherever you see the property at, it looks really great. Would like to come take a time to come look at it. Go look at the property. And what'll happen is the landlord's definitely actually going to ask you questions, and they're going to find out. They're going to want to know, oh, are you a family? Are you, how long do you want to do the lease? They're going to start asking you questions, but then you start asking them questions because your goal is to more so find out about their experience as a landlord and what their expectations are, and you want to get them talking about that. Then you kind of go into the spiel.
So no, hold on, don't move past that. So what are some questions you would do to find out about? I mean, let's drill right down.
Yeah.
What questions would you ask to find out about, how, just, I guess that's the landlord one's easy. Have you enjoyed being a landlord? I mean,
and like you said, like, hey, so what is your experience like as a landlord? I'll ask them, I'll say, so did you used to live in this property, or has this always been an investment property? Do you own a property? Is it under your name? Do you own it under a business? I'll ask them, I'll say, how long have you been doing it for? How was your last tenant? Did you like them? Were they good? Questions like that to get them talking and get an understanding of what their experience has been like. And they ask them, like, so what do you look for in a tenant? Like, what's important to you in a tenant? I already know these answers. I just want to get them talking. That way, when I speak to those answers, it registers even more. So then we go into the spiel and say, hey, well, I actually want to rent. I like this property a lot. And another thing that people want to make sure that they do, when you go look at these properties, you want to qualify them, like, logistically. Make sure that they work for your business model. Like, how's the parking situation? How does food get delivered? Like the check-in and checkout process. Will you be able to even install your tech stack into these properties? Would that be okay? So then you go into the spiel.
What is the tech stack?
Tech stack include doorbell camera. We don't deal with keys, so keyless entry.
So we got to do keyless entry, right? Lock system, okay.
And we usually set the PIN codes to the last 4 digits of the guest's phone number on the profile, and that way it's easy for them to remember things like that. We use a Nest thermostat because we want to make sure that the things like that are super easy. So even though and we get a lot of people, especially pre-COVID, a lot of folks, they're not even from this country that come here. So we want to make sure that they have systems and things that they're using in the property that's easy to use. So things like that, those all fall into this tech stack conversation, the cameras, all that. Noise monitoring system. We talked about parties and all that. We'll use noise monitoring system to monitor the noise level. That way, once it goes up to a certain level, you know that there's some riffraff going on over there.
Noise monitoring system. No kidding. So that's, I have those alarms here, like glass break alarms. If the alarm goes off if the glass is broken. So it's similar to that, I would guess. Okay.
Similar to that, but it's not just like, it's actually the noise level, like conversation. Like conversation. So once a conversation and it gets like to a certain level, then you know that, oh, this is a party level. Then it'll alert you on your phone, like, hey, this
that's cool.
Party level activity going on at your property right now.
Better drop the hammer or call the cops. Wow. Okay. 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 Yeah. Very cool. Okay. So please continue.
No, I was just gonna say in that conversation, just wrapping up that conversation real briefly, because that part I want to make sure that the people understand why it's important to speak to the pain points of these landlords. When we talk to these landlords, we let them know, like, hey, we want to rent this property, we love the property, but we're not going to be your typical renter. We actually want to rent this property and rent this property to the people that we serve, because I think it's very nice, and I think that the medical travelers and the business travelers that we serve will really like it. You're going to get your rent paid on time every month. It's going to be fully automated. We are going to handle maintenance for you. We handle maintenance up to $200. Anything above $200, we let you know. We'll oversee the process. We'll make recommendations for contractors, and then we'll oversee and make sure it gets done. Then we'll invoice you for for the cost of it. Anything under $200, don't even worry about it. We'll take care of that on our expense. Things like that. We let them know this is how the property has to show for everybody that checks in here. So nobody is actually going to take care of this property the way we're going to take care of this property. Nobody's going to take it has to show for everybody that checks in. So we speak to that. We say, hey, this is how we insure the property. We insure it with short-term rental insurance, but it's liability coverage as well to make sure that the entire business is covered. And we also give them an option to transition, because there's a short-term rental policy if you own the property, and it serves as a complete replacement to the landlord policy. And then we still have our own arbitrage policy as well. So we show them how we're going to insure the property. We let them know, like, hey, the people that we serve, a lot of times it's in their best interest to take care of these properties, because they don't want to look bad to their employers. They come in, they get the job done, and they check out, whatever the case may be, and that's it. So we speak to their pain points, and the landlord's pain points are this: how will they get the rent paid on time? Will somebody take care of the property? How is maintenance being handled? Right? These are three things. And what about, and also turnover. So we actually look to do 24 months, with like at least 24 months when we do it, because understand, landlords, when they like their cash and they like the money on time every month, but turnover is also a big deal. It may take them a month to fill in that vacancy. Sure. So we'll fill in, we'll keep this for 2 years.
Do you do a rent bump on the second year?
Exactly. So we actually negotiate that. We actually try to negotiate rents down, because not only are we filling this vacancy, but we're bringing the perfect tenant while we're doing it. So that's how we position ourselves with landlords. And we actually use all these factors to actually help us get lower rents. But usually when we look at properties, we are actually okay with the rents. We actually make sure that the rents work before we even go into them. Make sure that they're properly.
And is there a formula that you use when you're evaluating a property on this arbitrage model? That, I mean, obviously, I guess you'd need to see what the market bears on a daily basis, and then what do? Calculate that you'll be half full, or what are the numbers you use?
Well, there's technology that you can use to run comps.
Oh, no kidding. Okay. Yeah, give me, throw some of those out. How do you?
The main one is airdna.co.
airdna.co.
Yeah. .co.
Okay.
Yes, and that's almost like running comps for short-term rentals, right?
Oh, very cool. Okay.
Yeah, and you can put in, and now they charge for their market, for the report.
Okay.
You can be on subscription, and they'll pull up the report. They'll let you know the occupancy and the average occupancy. They'll let you know what the income is in terms of what people are charging, things like that, and across Airbnb and VRBO as well. So, but I caution people when it comes to AirDNA, please take their data with a grain of salt.
Right. Same way with rental comps, guys. If you're going to check a rental comps on a multifamily, you're going to Zillow and RentBits and Rentometer and apartments.com. It's not enough. You have got to do some of your own homework.
Yes.
And actually go on the freaking platforms and see who the competition is. Right? Are we on the same page? All right. Same
100%,
thing.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, in our case with multifamily, you need to call the competition. You don't even rely on the websites. But okay, good. All right.
Generally, we also usually outdo the numbers on AirDNA, just as a point. But that's why I still rock with AirDNA, because the numbers are quite conservative, actually. But like you said, couple that data with going on the platform itself, go on there as a traveler, look in that particular area, cross-reference that, look at the data on occupancy, look at the data in terms of how well the listings put together. Do they even have professional photography? Look at what they're charging. Look at how far out they're booked. Couple that data with what you get from AirDNA. That'll give you a solid information on what to expect in terms of income on a short-term rental basis for that particular area.
All right. Well, you just said something else that I'm going to ask a question about. So you get professional photographs at all your places?
Absolutely. 100%. I highly recommend.
How many photos of a property? All the rooms, I'm guessing, inside, anything that's a plus, like a backyard view or something, a yard.
Everything. And I let people know, and two caveats to these photos. For one, about 15 to 20 for a one bedroom, tack on about 5 every additional bedroom.
Okay. So that's for the photos.
For the photo count,
gotcha.
Right?
The cost. Gotcha. Okay.
For the photo count, for the amount of photos that you're going to put on the listing, the listing itself. Now. Oh,
wait a minute. Are you paying the photographer or you're paying the platform?
Oh, no. So we pay the photographer. We have.
Gotcha. Okay. I just got confused for a second there. Gotcha. Yeah. All right. This is what you're paying the photographer to do it. $15 a room.
Oh, no.
What am I missing? All right.
A flat fee. But I'm saying when you list your property, the
Right.
amount of photo, because you don't want to have too many photos on your
Oh,
listings.
gotcha. Oh, gotcha. It's only about
Little
15
photos.
to 20.
Yeah, 15 to 24 one bedroom.
Okay.
Photos itself, the photo count on the listing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'll say about 20 to 22, 25 for a 2 bedroom. Probably no more than like 28 for a 3 bedroom, something like that, or 30 even.
Okay.
So yeah, but when it comes to photography, hire a professional photographer.
Yep.
I don't know. I still don't understand why a lot of hosts miss on this, but there's so much money you're leaving on the table by not having professional photography. And I'm not just talking about any photographer, a lifestyle photographer or a wedding photographer, somebody, a real estate photographer, because there's certain ways that photos have to be set for real estate purposes. And lighting.
Do a virtual tour. Is that something that you can do?
So that's actually something that Airbnb, as the rumor, is looking to add to their platform. Okay. Right now, I used to do the MAT report when I got started. I was doing the MAT report to where you can do the virtual tour. Okay. It's like the virtual tour, but you can't add links to Airbnb right now. But apparently that's something that they're looking at in the future. But one other savvy way to do it is you could have it to where, hey, you can have a text software, text this number to get the virtual tour, right? Text this number to this number to get the virtual tour.
Oh, cool.
That's your list.
Okay, that's cool.
You get a little bit creative with it. Yeah, and I heard a guy on Clubhouse had a genius idea. He had said he has one of his photo reels, he has a QR code. Right. So he said, hey, you scan the QR code with your phone to take you straight to the virtual tour of the property. I thought that was pretty cool, too.
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah. Well, I love it. So online, you just scan the QR code and boom, there you're in. Boom. Okay.
And another good point with photos, like make sure, like let them see everything. Like your photos should tell a story. Like let them see everything. If they don't see it, or at the minimum, you don't state it, they will assume you don't have it. So you have to make sure that you show everything. Even if you have a sofa bed, it's a good idea to have one, because the more heads you can sleep, the more money you can make. So if you have a sofa bed,
do you charge more for more people?
So yes, you can definitely charge more people. Like just overall in your listing, the more you can sleep, the more you can.
Gotcha. Okay.
Exactly. So even like with your sofa beds, like pull the sofa bed out and make it, dress it, let it, like put the duvet on it, put the 4 pillows, put a decorative pillow on it, dress it, make it look nice. Let them see like it's a sofa bed, but hey, it could be comfortable. Like this, you can still get some good sleep here. So let them see everything: your pots and pans, your things. Oh,
really?
Oh, wow. Yeah, everything. We actually like to dress the dining table. We'll dress it like with, make it nice, make it look,
make it up,
and photograph it that way. Like let them see, tell the right story with your listing, and that'll go a long way.
Love it. So how do you manage this is the last topic. How do you manage your reputation?
So by providing exceptional service. Like,
well, of course,
here's the thing.
But what do you do extra? Yes. Tell me what you do besides just make sure it looks good and all that, and just well taken care of, cleaned properly. What do you do to manage that experience?
So the word that you use is experience, and that's what's crucial, right? Okay. What's going to translate to good reviews, because the reviews is what's going to keep your reputation high. What's going to translate to good reviews is the experience that they get at your unit. But I need a lot of hosts don't really realize though that experience doesn't necessarily start when they get there. It actually starts at the listing itself. How clear is your listing? How good of a job are you at showing what your listing has to provide at the listing level? Then they book your listing, right? Okay, they're attracted, they're sold, they book your property. What is your communication like? How are you communicating with them? Which a lot of that can be automated. Your checking instructions. How clear is that? So what makes that experience great, one of the key aspects of that is the fact that a guest can book your listing and have the right instructions, and then check in and have a great experience at the property, from even utilizing your TVs. We use the Roku. Only one type of TV we use in all of our units is the Roku, is the TV with the Roku built in, because the remote is so small and simple, very simple. What matters is if they don't have to ask you anything, if they can come use your property, we're not having to figure things out. Hey, how do you use this? How do you use this? That speaks into the experience quite a bit as well. The more questions they have to ask you, the more dwindle down their experience. Yeah. So how well are you being clear and providing that experience, even at the level of your listing? Then when they check in, okay, the thermostat, remember we use the super simple Nest. All you got to do is turn it to set it.
That's it. Wow.
That's it. The remote, super simple. It's like two buttons on a remote.
What about, do you do anything while they're there or after they're gone for reputation?
So for reputation, now, if sometimes guests will have special requirements, right? Maybe it's an occasion. Now, this is a great way that hosts can actually make even more money by partnering with a third party company or somebody that has a business that, hey, we provide, certain packages for the guests,
For a
right?
party
Maybe,
or something. Okay.
yeah. So maybe, they're here for, they want like a romance.
Yeah, but forget that. I'm really more interested in like a normal 1 week rental, 2 week rental. Is there anything you do? Like sometimes Amazon sellers will put in a card, or they'll put the thing in a bow, or they'll do something just to make it a little extra special. Don't contact Amazon. You got any problems, call us. We will make sure you're taken care of. Do you do anything like that?
Well, absolutely. And
Okay.
for one thing, we say stuff like that, like even in our guidebooks and stuff like that, like make sure you don't even worry about, especially in our apartment communities, because guests tend to want to just reach out to, or go down to the front office. Oh, we have a question or whatever. It's like, hey, just make sure that if you want the best service, just reach out to us directly. We'll make sure that you're well taken care of. Things like that. Again, we used to go all out with the services with wine and chocolate and whatnot. Right. But again, when we got to a certain level, it's like, we're going to scale that back, but we do still provide snacks and things like that.
Right.
And so when
there's nothing you do to ask for a 5-star rating or anything like that. That's what I'm asking, I guess.
Got you. So, but we do ask for one. Like, I think the average number of people, about 65% of guests, of hosts, have their guests leave a review. We're at like 85% because we actually ask. And we prompt them to do it. And it's also psychology, like
that's
even
kind of what I'm asking. Yeah. Okay. So you ask for it. Got it.
Exactly. And even like when they check in, it's automated. The very next day we check on them at 10 o'clock a.m. The very next day they have to check in. Hey, just
check phone, call, text,
through the platform, text through the platform, which is also goes through to the email as well. Hey, just hoping you're having a 5-star stay. Let us know if you need anything.
Pre-framing. Exactly. Hoping you have a 5-star quotation mark stay. Love it. I love it.
5-star stay. Things like that. You can even have like on your Netflix, say you have Netflix, right? You can even title one of your Netflix profiles 5-star stay. Like, it's sometimes
love it. Subliminal.
Yeah. Subliminally, exactly.
Love it. All right, guys, listen, his website is strroadmap.com. And TJ, this has been a blast, brother.
Thank you so much. I had a great time.
Yeah, this has been very informative. I will tell you, I've learned a lot, and it's making me think about this, honestly. So I appreciate your time, brother. And, I'm sure I'll see you on Clubhouse before too long.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much.
All right, man. My pleasure. My pleasure, brother. Take care. Thanks.
Rod, I know a lot of our listeners are wanting to take their multifamily investing business to the next level. Now, I know you've been hard at work helping our Warrior students do just that using our ACT methodology, which is awareness, close, and transform. Can you explain to the listeners how they can get our help?
You bet. Guys, we've been going nonstop for 3 years, building an amazing community of like-minded people. And our coaching students, which we call our Warriors, have had extraordinary results. They've purchased thousands and thousands of units. And last year, we did over 1,000 units with our students. And we're looking to grow this group and take it to the next level. We're looking for people who want to follow a proven framework that's really step by step, and then leverage our systems and network to raise equity, to find and close deals, and to build partnerships nationwide. Now, our Warrior community is finding success in any market cycle. So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become more of our incredible network and take advantage of the incredible opportunities that are coming very soon, apply to work with us at mentorwithrod.com or text CRUSH to 41411. That's mentorwithrod.com or text CRUSH to 41411.